Hi, friend. It's your inner child calling. And they want churros. A new toy. And a new adventure. Or maybe 5. With the bestest besties on Earth. Find your moment at Walt Disney World Resort.
You know you've got a comeback in you. When you take the next step, you're going to make it count. For your career, for your family, for your life. You can earn a degree you're proud of with Purdue Global. Purdue Global is backed by Purdue University, one of the nation's most respected and innovative public universities. This is your chance. This is your opportunity. This is your comeback. Purdue Global, Purdue's online university for working adults. Start your comeback today at purdueglobal.edu.
Hello, I'm Emily Rudder, and I'm the head of development at Wonder Media Network. Thrilled to be stepping in for Jenny to guest host today's episode of Womanica. This month, we're diving into the divas of history, examining how the label has been used from many angles, whether describing women pejoratively or with admiration. Today, we follow a debutante of the English aristocracy on her quest for love and adventure. From the royal courts of Europe to the deserts of the Middle East, this woman left behind scattered suitors and scandalized her family name along the way. Let's talk about Jane Digby. Jane Elizabeth Digby was born on April 3, 1807, at Forston House, tucked into the lush green hills of Dorset, England. She was the only daughter of Lady Andover and Admiral Henry Digby, a decorated naval hero. From an early age, Jane was infamous for her appearance. Wide, violet blue eyes and golden curls that cascaded into ringlets down to her knees. But she had brawn and brains as much as she did beauty. Jane had no interest in playing with dolls. Instead, she preferred to best her brothers in horse races. She was educated in foreign languages, the arts, and ancient history, just the same as her male counterparts, which was unusual for the time. After years of training in the dealings of aristocratic life, Jane had an irresistible charm and aptitude for polite society. When she debuted in London in 1824, youthful admirers swarmed her, but none compared to Lord Ellenborough. He was a handsome, rich politician, nearly twice Jane's age, with a playboy reputation. Her parents approved of the match, and Jane delighted in the flowery love poems they exchanged during their 5-month courtship. They married that same year, when she was 17 years old. As the newly minted Lady Ellenborough, Jane seemed to have it all: wealth, beauty, love. But out of the public eye, cracks in her marriage started to show. Lord Ellenborough was known for his frequent absences due to political engagements. Then, 6 months into their marriage, Jane found a portrait of his mistress in their home. Disenchanted with her husband, Jane moved on. First, with George Anson, her childhood crush and first cousin. Jane became pregnant in 1827 with his baby. She hid the truth from her husband, who was naively thrilled to have a son. The next year, she began a rendezvous with Prince Felix of Schwarzenberg. By 1829, Jane was pregnant again. And this time, Lord Ellenborough knew the child wasn't his. With tensions rising and gossip spreading, the Lord reluctantly filed for divorce. At a time when the average divorce rate in England was almost non-existent, the couple knew this choice would cause a stir. They hoped to settle things quietly, but the rumor mill had already won. News of the divorce and Jane's affairs hit the front page of the Times in April of 1830. The paper published direct reports from staff at the places she'd stayed with her lovers. This confirmed her infidelity and plunged her family into deep shame. Cast aside by society, Jane fled England. In the decades that followed, Jane found more relationships and betrayals from kings and nobles across continental Europe. By 1853, she was 46 years old and had given birth to 6 children. 3 died young, and 3 were raised by their fathers' families. That April, Jane was preparing to visit Syria. She wanted to purchase Arabian horses for the home she shared with a Greek war hero. But when she found out he had been unfaithful, she broke things off. Jane decided to swear off men and changed her plans. She then embarked on a quest to achieve a lifelong dream, visiting Jerusalem, Damascus, and the desert ruins of Palmyra, one of the most important cultural centers of the ancient world. 150 miles, 50 hours on camelback, little respite from blazing desert sun and fine sand whipping your face, threats of raids or capture around any corner. That was the path from Damascus to Palmyra. She was escorted by Sheikh Medjool el-Mezrab, a Bedouin or nomad. She swapped her velvet cloaks and satin riding habits for a shift dress and keffiyeh and set off. As they traipsed through the vast expanse of land, Jane traded tales of travel with Medjool and remarked on the landscape's beauty. Miles of sand peppered with plants, desert eagles soaring above, streaks of pink and purple that washed over rock formations. As expected, they clashed with thieves, but remained unharmed, thanks to Medjool. It had likely been 30 years since a European woman had braved the journey to Palmyra, and Medjool admired Jane's brazen curiosity and grit. In her diary, Jane wrote that this trip was the greatest adventure of all my journeys. In October 1853, she sold her home in Athens and traveled back to Damascus to begin her new life. She also returned to a marriage proposal from a smitten Medjool. Jane was taken aback. Did he only want her for her money? Did she even love him? Could she live as a Bedouin? Jane told him she'd consider, and set off on a 4-month trek to Baghdad. This would allow her to test out the Bedouin lifestyle. One night, while camped out with her traveling group, Jane was captured in a raid and held for ransom. A Bedouin leader on the trip negotiated the price, and she was eventually released. Unflinching, Jane found the experience exhilarating, not frightening. She decided that if this was Bedouin life, then she was more than capable of living it. When her caravan returned to Damascus, Medjool was there to greet her, looking regal on horseback. Jane accepted his proposal shortly after. Unlike her exes, Medjool was willing to make sacrifices for Jane. He risked estrangement from his tribe by marrying a woman of a different race and faith. He even divorced his wife and became monogamous. The couple married in March of 1855 and went on a honeymoon in Palmyra. Upon leaving, Jane wrote, "Today, my dream has begun its accomplishment. I leave Damascus for the loved desert with my adored and adoring Medjool." Despite continued disapproval from most of high society back home, Jane finally got her happily ever after. Jane died in August 1881 at age 74. She was buried in Damascus. In front of her more European-style gravestone is a block of pink limestone, which Medjool brought specifically from Palmyra. In it, he carved Madame Digby, el-Mezrab in Arabic, and never married again. All month, we're talking about divas. For more information, find us on Facebook and Instagram at Womanica Podcast. Special thanks to Jenny and Liz Kaplan for having me as a guest host. Talk to you tomorrow.
Lately on the NPR Politics Podcast, we're talking about a big question. How much can one guy change?
They want change.
What will change look like for energy?
Drill, baby, drill.
Schools.
Take the Department of Education, close it.
Healthcare.
Better and less expensive.
Follow coverage of a changing country.
Promises made, promises kept. We're going to keep our promises.
On the NPR Politics Podcast. Listen on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Nicola Coughlan, and for BBC Radio 4, this is history's youngest heroes. Rebellion, risk, and the radical power of youth.
She thought, right, I'll just do it. She thought about others rather than herself.
12 stories of extraordinary young people from across history.
There's a real sense of urgency in them, that resistance has to be mounted, it has to be mounted now.
Follow History's Youngest Heroes wherever you get your podcasts.